All right. Welcome back to our study of the Temple Scroll. We're taking a look through the Temple Scroll. Last week, we were looking at some of the feast, and as always, we're going to be seeking to align things up with our measuring stick. That is our canon, and the Temple Scroll, of course, speaks of the temple, and this is what we're speaking about this week as well. So we're getting into some more of the aspects of the temple. So we left off with column 39. We're going to pick it up with column 40. And it reads, it's broken off in the beginning, but it picks up. It says, to wear the garments, breaks off, pick back up, to be prince under, breaks off, pick back up. The children of Israel, and they shall not die, breaks off, pick back up. This courtyard, breaks off, and you shall make a third courtyard, breaks off, for their daughters and for foreigners who were born. So this is teaching us that there was a special place for the women and for foreigners, and it was a part of the outer court, and they had their own designated place. Now, it picks back up. The width around the central courtyard will be 600 cubits by a length of about 1,600 cubits from one corner to the other on each side according to these measurements. To the east, to the south, to the west, and to the north. And the thickness of the wall will be 7 cubits, and the height 49 cubits, and it will have recesses made between its gates and on the outside at the base of the foundation up to its crowns. In it there will be 3 gates to the east, 3 to the south, and 3 to the west, and 3 to the north. And the width of the gates will be 50 cubits, and their height 70 cubits. The measurement between gate and gate will be 360 cubits. From the corner up to the gate of Simeon, there will be 360 cubits. And from the gate of Simeon up to the gate of Levi, the same measurement. And from the gate of Levi up to the gate of Yehuda, the same measurement, 360. All right, that was column 40. Now column 41. Got my first reader, read column 41 and let somebody else have.
And from the gate of Benjamin up to the western corner, 360 cubits, and the same from this corner up to the gate of Issachar, 360 cubits, and from the gate of Issachar up to the gate of Gad, up to the north corner, 360 cubits, and from this corner up to the gate of Dan, 360 cubits, and the same from the gate of Dan up to the gate of Naphtali, 360 cubits, and from the gate of Naphtali up to the gate of Asher, 360 cubits, and from the gate of Asher up to the eastern corner, 360 cubits. The gateways shall protrude from the wall of the courtyard outwards, 7 cubits, and will extend inwards out of the wall of the courtyard 36 cubits, and the width of the openings of the gateways will be 14 cubits, and their height from 8 cubits up to the lintel, and they will be furnished with jambs of cedar wood and overlaid with gold, and their doors will be overlaid with pure gold. And on the inside, between one gate and another, you shall make footprints.
Hallelujah. All right, that was column 41. Column 42 continues on. It's broken up. It picks up with up to the lintel and breaks off, picks back up to all the storerooms and to their rooms. The width will be 10 cubits, and between one gate and another you shall make 18 storerooms, and their rooms 18. You shall make a staircase by the walls of the gates in the middle of the porch, leading up and round into the second and third porch and to the roof. And the storerooms and their rooms and their porches will be like those below. The second and the third floors will be of the same measurements as those below. And upon the third roof you shall make columns, furnished with beams, column to column. A place for the huts, 8 cubits height. And the huts shall be made on them each year, on the festival, which belongs to the festival of huts year after year. Between one gate and another, there shall be. So we see that during the time of Sukkot, they would actually make Sukkot up on the temple, on the roof parts of the temple. I bet that was a sight to see. Yeah. Column 43. My next reader, please.
On the days of the Sabbaths, and on the days of and on the days of the first fruits of grain, of wine and of oil, and on the days of wood. It shall be eaten on these days, and they shall not leave over some of it from one year to another year. For they shall eat it in the way from the festival of the first fruits of the grain of wheat. They shall eat the grain up to the second year, up to that the day of the festival of first fruits, and the wine from the day of the year of the festival of new wine, up to the day of the festival of new wine of the second year, up to the day of the festival of the new wine, and the oil from the day of the festival of its festival up to the year, the second year, up to the festival of the day of the offering of the new oil on to the altar. And everything which is surplus from the festival will be holy. It will be burned on the fire. It shall not be eaten anymore because it is holy. And those who live further from the temple than a distance of 3 days shall bring everything that they can bring. And if they are unable to carry it, then they shall sell it for money, and shall bring the money, and with it then they shall sell it for money, and shall bring the money, and with it they shall buy grain and wine and oil and cattle and sheep, and they shall eat it during the days of the festival. And they shall not eat from it on work days for their strength, because it is holy, and it will be eaten on the holy days and will not be eaten on the work days.
Hallelujah. Okay, so we'll learn a little something in here. First of all, it tells us, that the fruits are on the days of the first fruits of grain and wine and oil, and the days of wood. They should be eaten on these days, and they should not leave some of it from one year to another. Someone actually asked me this exact question last week, and I think I gave you exactly the wrong answer. You know, um, so if you have something from the first fruits, of the previous year, you cannot use it again the next year. You can't, after the year is over, you are to burn it on the fire. And says everything which is surplus from their festival will be holy. It will be burnt on the fire. It shall not be eaten anymore because it is holy. So you have the whole year to eat it. You don't eat it within that period of time, then you let it burn. And it speaks of also, when you sacrifice something, I guess this is conjunction with the priest, or I guess the offerer as well, it's to be eaten on the holy days. It's not to be eaten on the work day so that you can have strength to go and do your business, do your work. It's to be eaten on the holy day, not the work day. Now this bears witness to Deuteronomy 14, actually, which says, "Thou shalt truly tithe all the increase of thy seed that the field bringeth forth year by year, and thou shalt eat before Yahuwah thy Elohim in the place which he shall choose to place his name there, the tithe of the corn, of the wine, and of thine oil, and the firstlings of thy herds and of thy flocks, that thou mayest learn to fear Yahuwah thy Elohim always. And if the way be too long for thee, so that thou art not able to carry it, or if the place be too far from thee, which Yahuwah thy Elohim shall choose to set his name there, when Yahuwah thy Elohim hath blessed thee, then thou shalt turn it into money, and bind up the money in thine hand, and thou shalt go unto the place which Yahuwah thy Elohim shall choose. And thou shalt bestow that money for whatever thy soul lusteth after, the oxen, or for sheep, or for wine, or for strong drink, or for whatsoever thy soul desireth, thou shalt eat there before Yahuwah thy Elohim, and thou shalt rejoice, thou and thine household. And the Levite that is within thy gates, thou shalt not forsake him, for he hath no part nor inheritance with thee. And the end of 3 years thou shalt make forth all the tithe of thine increase the same year, and shalt lay it up within thy gates. And the Levite, because he hath no part or inheritance with thee, and the stranger and the fatherless and the widow which are within thy gates shall come and eat and be satisfied, that Yahuwah thy Elohim may bless thee in all the work of thine hand which thou doest. Hallelujah. All right, so we see this does align with what the temple scroll is saying, and waiting too long that you are not able to carry it, place be too far, and you can sell it and get the money and take the money and then buy stuff. Amen. Yeah. All right, column 44. It says inhabitants. It's broken off, picks up inhabitants, breaks off, which there is within the city to the east, breaks off, and you shall share out of the storeroom. From the gate of Simeon up to the gate of Yahudah, they shall be for the priest, breaks off, and to the right of the gate of Levi, and to its left. You shall allot the sons of Aaron your brother 108 storerooms, in their rooms in their 2 huts, which are on the top of the roof. So we see that in the temple there was also storerooms, and scripture or our canon rather does bear witness to this. In 1 Kings 15:8, it says, then Asa took all the silver and the gold that were left in the treasures of the house of Yahuwah and the treasures of the king's house, and delivered them into the hand of his servants. And King Asa sent them from Ben-Hadad to the son of Tabrimon, to the son of Hezion, king of Syria, that dwelt in Damascus, saying, all right, this word treasures here actually storerooms. Okay, and then we have a second witness in 1 Chronicles 9:26. For these Levites, the 4 chief porters, were in their set office and were over the chambers and the treasuries of the house of Elohim. This word treasuries is the same as that one, and can speak to a storeroom, and so can the chamber. So we see there was in fact storerooms at the temple. Continuing on, column 44. My next reader, please.
To the sons of Judah, from the gates of Judah up to the corner, 54 storerooms and their rooms, and the hut which are on top of the roof. To the sons of Judah, from the gate of Judah up to the corner, 54 storerooms and their rooms, and the hut which there is above them. The sons of Simeon, from the gate of Simeon up to the second corner, their storerooms and their rooms and their huts. The sons of Reuben, from the corner which is next to the sons of Judah up to the gate of Reuben, 52 storerooms and their rooms and their huts. Of Reuben up to the gate of Joseph, to the sons of Joseph, to Ephraim, and of Joseph, up to the gate of Benjamin, and to the sons of Kohath, from the sons of the Levites, and from the gate of Benjamin up to the western corner, to the sons of Benjamin, and from the corner up to the gate of Issachar, and the sons of Issachar, and from the gate.
Hallelujah. Okay, that's column 44. All right, and then we'll see if I can find my cursor. We'll see what column 45 has to say. All right. It says, and they will enter. Cuts off, picks back up 70. Cuts off storerooms. Cuts off in their vessels. And when the second shall enter to the left. Kasah first shall go out from the right, and they shall not intermingle one with the other, nor with their vessels, and shall not intermingle one with the other, nor with their vessels. Okay, and shall come the priestly course to his place, and they shall camp, he who goes in and he who goes out on the 8th day, and they shall purify the storeroom one after another. At the moment when the first goes out, there should be no mingling there. You know, this makes you think, you know, the awful lot of storerooms, you know, the temple must have been pretty massive, you know, to have hundreds of rooms, you know. It continues on and says, then a man who has had a nocturnal emission shall not enter the whole temple until 3 days have passed. He shall wash his clothes and shall bathe on the first day, and on the 3rd day he shall wash his clothes and bathe, and after the sun has set he shall enter the temple. But they shall not enter my temple with their soiled impurity and defile it. Okay, so this kind of reminds me of like one of the modern day commercials. We just, you know, talk about one thing and just jump to something totally different. You know, start talking about the man that has nocturnal emission. You know, and this actually bears witness to our measuring stick, though. In Deuteronomy 23:10-12, it says, if there be any among you, any man that is not clean by reason of uncleanness that chances him by night, then he shall go abroad out of the camp. He shall not come within the camp. But it shall be when the evening cometh, he shall wash himself with water, and when the sun is down, he shall come into the camp again. Thou shalt have a place also without a camp, whither thou shalt go forth abroad. All right. You know, so we see our measuring stick is in alignment. Column 45 continues. It says, and a man who lies with his wife and has an ejaculation for 3 days shall not enter the whole city of the temple in which I shall cause my name to dwell. Now, this is we have something that bears witness to this in the in our measuring stick, in our canon, you know, but it's with the layman, so to speak, you know, and this is speaking about the priest, you know, which we know that was held to a higher standard, you know, but take note that for 3 days they weren't able to enter into the whole city of the temple, you know, and in Leviticus 15, you know, it speaks to this actually it bears witness to this. Rather, it's Leviticus 15:18. It says, the woman also with whom a man shall lie with seed of copulation, they shall both bathe themselves in water and be unclean until evening. And you know, and so we see that act did make them unclean. You know, then column 45 continues, says, no blind person shall enter it all their days, and they shall not defile the city in whose midst I dwell, because I, Yahuwah, dwell in the midst of the children of Israel forever and always. All right. This bears witness to Leviticus 27:17-21, which states, speak unto Aaron, saying, whosoever he be of the seed of their generations that have any blemish, let him not approach to the offer the bread of his Elohim. For whatsoever man he be that have a blemish, he shall not approach. A blind man, or lame, or he that have a flat nose, or anything superfluous, or a man that is broken-footed or broken-handed, or crook-backed, or a dwarf, or that have a blemish in his eye, or be scurvy, or scab, or have his stones broken. No man that have a blemish of the seed of Aaron the priest shall come nigh to offer the offerings of Yahuwah made by fire. He have a blemish, he shall not come nigh to offer the bread of his Elohim. All right. I think I was pretty serious about that. You know, column 45 continues. It says, every man who purifies himself from his discharge shall count for himself 7 days for his purification. He shall wash on the 7th day his clothes and bathe his body completely in living water. Afterwards he shall enter the city of the temple. So we see he has to bathe his body completely in living water. All right. You know, now, what exactly is living water? Zechariah 14:8 gives us a pretty big clue. It says, and in that day it shall be that living waters flow from Jerusalem, half of them toward the eastern sea and half of them toward the western sea in summer as well as in winter. Okay, now this is this version is taken from the scriptures. You know, the King James or KJV says to go out, but the word literally can literally means to break forth. You know, and it's speaking of waters and it's speaking of the waters flowing. So I thought this was a better translation. You know, and it works to serve the meaning of living waters. Living waters is flowing water. You know, so a lake that is stagnated, a stagnant lake would not be living water. And the interesting thing about it is when you see like a lake that's stagnated, you know, if it's stagnated long enough, you'll start seeing all types of crap growing in it. You know, moss and all types of mildews and the water gets really murky and dirty and parasites begin to fill it, so on and so forth. Okay? And so this is what happens to stagnated water. But living water is water that has life. It's called living because it's moving. You know, so it speaks to the flow of the water, you know, and such as you find in a river, you know, and of course, you know, like if you see a lake and it's all murky and stuff growing out in it like that, you cannot drink that water. But, you know, contrary wise, when you're dealing with a river or with flowing water, the water stays nice and clean and you're able to drink from. You know, so, you know, this is what's spoken of living waters, you know, and Leviticus 15:13 through 15 also bears witness to this. It says, and when he that hath an issue is cleansed of his issue, then he shall number to himself 7 days for his cleansing and wash his clothes and bathe his flesh in running water and shall be clean. And so we see here that it's speaking of the very same thing, you know, in our canon, you know, and instead of using the terminology living water, it literally says running water. Okay? And on the 8th day, verse 14, and on the 8th day, he shall take to him 2 turtle doves or 2 young pigeons and come before Yahuwah to the door of the tabernacle of the congregation and give them unto the priest. And the priest shall offer them, the one for a sin offering and the other for a burnt offering, and the priest shall make an atonement for him before Yahuwah for his issue. Hallelujah. Okay. We're going to move on to column 46, my next reader, please.
Shall not enter the temple trader, and the temple he shall not enter. Of copper, its border so that there does its border so that there does not sit any unclean bird on my temple, and on the roofs of the gates which lead to the outer courtyard, and any unclean bird shall not be able to be in the middle of my temple forever, and for all the days, for I dwell in their midst. And you shall make a platform around the outer courtyard, 14 cubits wide, corresponding to the opening of all the gates. And you shall make 12 steps for it, upon which the children of Israel will ascend to enter my temple.
Hallelujah. Okay. Now we see it says that any unclean bird should not be able to be in the middle of my temple forever and for all the days where I dwell in their midst. You know, and I thought that was pretty interesting. You know, the day that it was set up so that no unclean bird would be able to be in the middle of the temple, or he didn't want any unclean bird to be in the temple, in the middle of his temple. Now, you know, the only way that this makes sense is if you identify with the spiritual aspect of the bird. You know, and so we're going to utilize the parable of the sower to expound on this concept. In Mark 4:4, Messiah, you know, is speaking of the parable of the sower. And he says, and it came to be as he sowed, some fell by the wayside, and the birds of heaven came and devoured it. Okay, so speaking about the birds of heaven, okay, Mark 4:15 gives the expounding of that passage. It says, and these are they by the wayside where the word is sown, but when they have heard, Satan cometh immediately and taketh away the word that was sown in their hearts. You know, now it that makes it well, let me finish. You know, then also we have Luke 8:12. You know, same parable. You know, the expounding is a little bit different. It says, those by the wayside are they that hear, then cometh the devil and taketh away the word out of their hearts, lest they should believe and be saved. And also, you know, we have in Matthew 13:19, because this parable occurs, you know, 3 places. You know, it says, when anyone heareth the word of the kingdom and understandeth it not, then cometh the wicked one and catcheth away that which was sown in his heart. This is he which received the seed by the wayside. Okay? So, when it comes to the birds of heaven, we see they're symbolized by Satan, the devil, the wicked one. You know, and so it becomes evident why Yah did not want any birds to be in the midst of his temple forever. You know, and essentially, you know, the birds does speak to the devil, Satan, the wicked one, but more specifically, it speaks to what comes from that, you know, which is lies and falsehood. So, lies and falsehood. And so that's what Yah doesn't want in the midst of his temple. You know, and that's why it's imperative that we get, you know, false doctrines out from within the midst of his temple. Amen. All right, so column 46 continues. My next reading, please.
And you shall make a trench around the temple, 100 cubits wide, which will separate the holy temple from the city. And they will not enter suddenly my temple, and will not defile it. And they will sanctify my temple, and they shall be afraid of my temple, for I dwell in the midst. And you shall make lanterns for them outside the city, where they shall go outside to the northwest of the city, houses with beams and pits in the midst, into which the excrement shall drop, and shall not be visible for anyone. At a distance from the city of 3,000 cubits, you shall make 3 places to the east of the city, separate from each other, to which shall come the lepers, and those afflicted with a discharge, and the men who have an emission of seed.
Hallelujah. Okay. Column 47. And it says, and those who come, cuts off, pick back up, far from cuts off, and all matter, and, yep, cut off, and, yep, cut off, and you will lead down, cut off, pick back up, upwards and not downwards, cuts off, and their cities will be pure and forever, and the city which I will sanctify to make dwell my name, and my temple within shall be holy and shall be clean from any case of whatever impurity which with which they could be defiled. Everything that is there is in it shall be pure, and everything that goes into it shall be pure. Wine and oil and all food and all drink shall be pure. You know, now I read this and this got me to thinking. You know, my mind went over to 1 Corinthians 3:16 through 19, which says, know ye that ye are the temple of Elohim, and that the Ruach of Elohim dwelleth in you? You know, and if any man defile the temple of Elohim, him shall Elohim destroy, for the temple of Elohim is holy, which temple ye are. Let no man deceive himself. If any man among you seemeth to be wise in this world, let him become a fool, that he may be wise. For the wisdom of this world is foolish with Elohim, is foolishness with Elohim. For it is written, he taketh the wise in their own craftiness. Now, I want you to, you know, to consider that we are the temple of Elohim. So if we're the temples of Elohim, then, you know, this is speaking to us and telling us that everything that goes into us shall be pure, and everything that goes into us, wine and oil and all food and all drink shall be pure. I got to thinking about this, and I got to thinking about it, like all the GMOs and crap that's being pushed off on the people, these days, especially within this country. That stuff's not pure, but yet it's going into Yah's temple, right? Or it shouldn't be going into Yah's temple, but that's the thing. We have been entrusted to guard the temple. So we become responsible for the temple that Yah entrusted us to guard. Amen. So I just want you to think about that, and I just want that to sink in. Because as you can, if nothing else, I know, like, a lot of this, may seem kind of humdrum and and a little boring, but if you see the larger picture, it does offer a very, very insightful view of how Yah sees it. We are a temple, and remember all those hundreds of rooms that was in the temple. Then we can have different rooms within us that have stuff stored up in it. Some of that stuff stored up can be defiling the temple. Some of the stuff stored up can be treasure. What do you have stored up in your temple? Hallelujah. And prayerfully that's all. And that's the whole thing that this is getting at. We want to make certain that we are keeping the temple pure. Column 47, all the hides of pure animal which they slaughter it in their cities, they shall not bring it into it. For in their cities they shall make with these hides utensils for all their needs, but they shall not bring them into the city of my temple. For their purity shall be like that of their flesh, and they shall not defile the city within which I make dwell my name in my temple. Rather with the hides of the animals which they sacrifice in the temple, with these they shall bring into the city of my temple their wine, their oil, and all their food, and they shall not defile my temple with the hides of their profane slaughtering, which they slaughter in their land. And thou shalt not consider cleansing a hide from your cities for my city. For according to the purity of his flesh, so shall the hides be pure. If you sacrifice in my temple, it is pure for my temple. If you slaughter in your cities, it is pure for your city. And all the purity of the temple you shall bring in the hides of the temple. And you shall not defile my temple and the city with your profane skins, because I dwell in your midst. And so I got to thinking about that, and I got to thinking about all the things that they did with the hides. And one of the primary things, of course, was back in the early days, was they made clothing from it. And so this just got me to thinking about, Yah, sounds like he wants us to wear holy clothes. They lie. Doesn't want us to wear any and everything, and that makes sense, especially if we're his temple. And you start thinking about it, okay, if I'm the Temple of Elohim, then, I'm a walking temple. I'm a walking billboard for Elohim. What am I advertising? Say loud. Leviticus 7:8, it says, and the priest that offereth any man's burnt offering, even the priest shall have to himself the skin of the burnt offering which he hath offered. So all the burnt offerings that took place, the hides from the burnt offerings went to the priest. They were for him. So they had plenty of holy holy hives, if you will, to make whatever they needed to make. And another interesting thing is, a lot of times the hives were utilized to actually make many of the Torah scrolls. They were made of hides, animal hides as well. So, they lie on that. All right, column 48, my next reader, please.
And this species had the hoopoe, and these from the winged insects you can eat. The locust and its species, the bald locust and its species, the crickets and its species, the grasshoppers and its species, these you can eat from among winged insects. Those which crawl on four paws, which have the hind legs wider than the forelegs, in order to jump from the ground with them and to fly with their wings. You cannot eat any carcass of bird or beast. Shall it be foreign? Oh, sell it to foreigners, yeah. But do not eat anything repulsive, because you are a holy people from Yahuwah, your Elohim. You are sons of Yahuwah Elohim. You shall not gas yourself or shave yourself between your eyes for a dead person, nor shall you make gashes in your flesh for someone decreased, nor shall you dab yourself with tattoos, because you are a holy people of Yahuwah, your Elohim. And you shall not defile your land, and you shall not do as the Gentiles do. They bury their dead in every place. They even bury them in the middle of their house. Instead, you shall keep places apart within your land where you shall bury your dead. Among 4 cities you shall establish a place in which to bury. And in every city you shall make places for those contaminated with leprosy, and with sores, and with scabies, so that they do not enter your cities and defile them, and also for those who have a flux, and for women when they are in their menstrual impurity after giving birth, so that they do not defile in their midst with their ministry impurity, and the leper who has chronic leprosy or crabbies, and the priest had declared him unclean.
Hallelujah. So, because you are a holy people for Yahuwah, your Elohim, you are sons for Yahuwah Elohim. You shall not defile your land. And so, that makes me think of like Psalms 100, where it says, make a joyful noise, all you lands. The land should speak to people. You should not defile your land. Your flesh is your land. So, just be cognizant of what you do, because you are God. Psalm 49, and you will lock them 7 days, cuts off and back up, and with cedar wood, with hyssop and wood, cuts off, picks back up. The cities with the plague of leprosy and become unclean. If a man dies in your cities, the whole house in which the deceased dies shall be unclean for 7 days. Everything there is in the house, and everything which goes into the house shall be unclean for 7 days. And all food over which water is spilled shall be unclean. Every drink shall be unclean, and the clay vessels shall be unclean, and everything there is in them shall be unclean for every pure man. And the open vessels shall be unclean for every man of Israel, all the drink that is in them. And the day on which they remove the dead person from it, They shall wash its hinges and its jambs and its threshold and its lintel. The day on which the dead person is brought out from, they shall cleanse the house, and all its utensils, and the meals, and the water, and all the utensils of wood, iron, and bronze, and all the utensils for which there is purity, and they shall wash his clothes on the first day. And on the third day they shall sprinkle over them the waters of purification. And they shall bathe and wash their clothes and the utensils which are in the house. And on the seventh day they shall sprinkle a second time. And they shall bathe and wash their clothes and their utensils, and they shall be clean by the evening from the dead person, so that they can approach all the pure things, and the men who were not contaminated by it. All right. And then we go into column 50. My next reader, please.
Until the day, the seventh day, in water, and purify a dead person, and they shall not eat anything dead, because the water of the purification, mingling with a dead person, they shall become impure no more, until they sprinkle for the second time on the seventh day, and they are pure in the evening at sunset. And every man who is in an open field shall come into contact with the bones of a dead person, or one slain by a sword, or a corpse, or the blood of a dead person, or a grave, shall purify himself according to the precepts of this regulation. And if he does not purify himself according to the regulation of this law, he will be impure. His impurity will stick to him, and everyone who comes into contact with him shall wash his clothes, and bathe, and become pure by the evening.
This is the regulation for coming in contact with the dead person, and the dead bear witness to our measuring stick in Numbers 19:11 through 18. It says, "He that toucheth the dead body or any man shall be unclean 7 days. He shall purify himself with it on the third day, and on the seventh day he shall be clean. But if he purify not himself the third day, then the seventh day he shall not be clean. Whosoever toucheth the dead body of a man that is dead, and purifieth not himself, defileth the tabernacle of Yahuwah. And that soul shall be cut off from Israel, because the water of separation is not sprinkled upon him. He shall be unclean, his uncleanness is yet upon him. This is the law when a man dieth in the tent. All that cometh into the tent and all that is in the tent shall be unclean 7 days. And every open vessel which have no covering bound upon it is unclean. Whosoever toucheth one that is slain with a sword in the open fields, or a dead body, or a bone of a man, or a grave, shall be unclean 7 days. For an unclean person they shall take of the ashes of the burnt heifer of purification for sin, and running water shall be put thereto in a vessel. And a clean person shall take hyssop, dip it in the water, and sprinkle it upon the tent, and upon all the vessels, and upon the persons that were there, and upon him that touched the bone, or one slain, or one dead, or grave." Okay, this is the purification process. And continuing with column 50, next week.
And if a woman is pregnant and her child dies in her womb, all the days that she is dead within her, she shall even feel like a grave. Every house that she enters with the unclean, all enters for 7 days. And everyone who comes into contact with her shall be impure up to the evening. And if he enters the house with her, he will be impure for 7 days. He shall wash his clothes and bathe, and then bathe on the first day. On the third day he shall sprinkle on his clothes. 7 days until the seventh time. He shall wash his clothes. He shall bathe by sunset. He will become pure. And all the utensils and the clothes and the skin, and all the objects of the skin, you shall prove of them according to the regulation of this law. All the vessels of clay you shall break, because they are unclean. Do not become clean again ever. Everything which creeps along the ground will be unclean. Rat, the bubba, and every kind of lizard, the ball gecko, the gecko, great lizard,
the one who comes in contact with them.
Hallelujah. This bears witness to Leviticus 11:29-31. It says, "These also shall be unclean unto you among the creeping things that creep upon the earth, the weasel and the mouse and the tortoise after his kind, and the ferret and the chameleon and the lizard and the snail and the mole. These are unclean to you among all that creep. Whosoever to you and touch them when they be dead shall be unclean until they eat." You know, and so this is column 50, and this is where we're going to stop. That's all I have for you today. I pray it was a blessing. Hallelujah.
Yeah.